Welcome back to Headlines Now. Now, while we continue to struggle with water wars in this city, an entire river is at the verge of vanishing in the northern districts of Tamil Nadu. Lakhs of valuable sand have been illegally quarried out of the Pala River and hoarded to drive prices up, destroying the livelihoods of the farmers and causing heavy losses to honest sand traders. Our reporter Ramanathan travelled to the heartland of this 1,000 crore natural resource for this very special report.
Lines of trucks transporting sand illegally out of the Pala riverbed, many with number plates of other states. What locals say has become a routine affair now in the Vellore and Maniambadi region, losing lakhs of tons of sand to the urban concrete jungle every year. There are only 2 legal sand quarries in the region, one in Pallikonda and other near Valajapet. But there are several other spots from where sand is stolen, all taken to cities in Tamil Nadu and nearby states.
பாலாத்தில் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு 10 இடத்துல வந்து ஆற்று உள்ள என்ட்ராகி நைட்டில் ஃபுல்லாக மணலை வந்து இல்லீகலாக லாரிஸில் எடுத்து போய் வெளியே கொட்டிடுறாங்க.
We see continuous stream of trucks going towards Karnataka, Bangalore. I believe even to Andhra Pradesh sand is being supplied.
Right now I'm standing on the Pala riverbed near Tengapatra village, about 2 kilometers from Maniambadi. Locals say that illegal quarrying of sand, this valuable sand, has been happening for over 7 years now. Now, even if it is legal quarrying, according to government regulations, quarrying cannot be done beyond 3 feet. But right here, 25 feet of quarrying has already been done in the past 7 years. Farmers like Nallatambi have lost their crops because of the continuous mining of sand, leading to depletion of groundwater.
தண்ணி பெட்டர் பண்ணி கொடுக்க மாட்டேன்து தண்ணி உப்பு உரம் தாஸ் ஆயிடுச்சு. நாங்கள் வந்து இங்கே இருக்கிற விவசாயிங்க ஊர் குடிமக்கள்லாம் வந்து தண்ணி வேறு தண்ணி தேடுற மாதிரி இருக்குது.
Sand illegally mined is hoarded to create a shortage. Then, in places like these in Ranipet, sand is sold away for a much higher price.
கவர்மெண்ட் குவாரி ஒன்று இருக்குங்க. அங்கே வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அந்த குவாரியில் லோடிங் கான்ட்ராக்டர் பண்ண ஆள் வந்து அவர் 100 வண்டி வச்சு அவர் இதே மாதிரி செகண்ட் சேல் பண்ணதுனால எங்களுக்கு வந்து மணலே கிடைக்க மாட்டேது.
Lorry owners have announced a protest on the 27th of this month. Officials of the Public Works Department who look after sand mining have refused to comment about this on camera. What is happening at Palar is not just affecting the farmers and traders, but the 1 crore people in the region who depend on the river for water. In Vellore, with camera person Lucas, Ramanathan for NDTV Hindu.
And joining us live right now is my colleague Ramanathan, who joins us from our newsrooms. Ram, it seems that the problem is much bigger than just sand quarrying itself, that even if it's right by legal terms, there are many, many more violations in the picture.
That's quite right, Evelyn. What our investigation has indeed found is that there are only 2 spots, according to the government, where sand quarry can take place, but there are at least 10 other spots where in the open, day and night, sand quarrying, illegal sand quarrying is happening. And even at these 2 spots, in Pallikonda and one site near Valajapet, what we have found is that they're violating norms. Now, they can only dig and mine up to 3 feet from the riverbed levels, but they have already dug up to 25 feet in many of these areas. So joining us also, Evelyn, to give us more clarity on this issue is our guest, Mr. Gilbert Rodrigo, who is an environmental activist and has been taking up this issue for nearly a decade now, and also Tamil Nadu Sand Lorry Association Owners President, Mr. Yuvraj, also joins us today here on Headlines Now. Mr. Yuvraj, if I can come to you first. Yesterday, your organization, your association had held a press statement and released a press statement and held a press conference, and you had said that you're going to protest on the 27th regarding this issue. But tell us, why is it that your association is coming out only now with this issue? This has been happening, in your own words, for about a decade now, for at least 7 years. Why is it that you have come out only yesterday and said that you're going to protest?
No, past 4 years after this government has come, last government, sand was taken in the river itself. We were given sand in the river. But now past 3.5 years, when this new government, they have brought the sand from the river and they stock it outside. They put the sand outside the river bed, and they sell it in a huge rate. We lorry owners are not given sand. We were made to stand in a queue. we started asking the PWD officers, then the collector, and we met the CM secretary. This department was 8 months back transferred from Mr. Duraimurugan to Chief Minister.
Right, sir.
So,
but what you are in fact saying is that it's not the illegal quarrying which is affecting you, it's the hoarding of the sand which is being quarried. But also, if I may ask you, sir, are you suggesting that there are officials of the government who are involved in this? Are you suggesting that?
Yeah, the sand quarry is done by the PWD department. Okay. But not even a single like AE or like any officers in the sand quarry. The sand quarry is given to a private man who comes inside as a loader and he becomes a trader. Okay, the whole sand
so what you are saying is that the loader who's just supposed to do the intermediary job now becomes a trader. If I can come to you, Mr. Gilbert Rodrigo, what really are the environmental concerns here, sir? You have been looking at this issue for a long time now. What really are the environmental concerns which affect us?
One thing is, it's a clear desertification process that's going on now. If we allow this kind of sand mining, we are going to have only a desert left in the basin of Palar. Number two is that the river itself flows only for 2 to 3 weeks in a year, and the whole area is sand bed, which is kind of a sponge, collects the water and holds it, and that's how we are having groundwater in the whole region. And if we don't take seriously, then we are going to have a total dry up happening in the region.
Yes, Mr. Gilbert, but then I think one more problem here is that people don't seem to understand that even if the river is dry, it still is a source of water. The general perception is that if the river is dry, then it's of no use. But then the sand there is still a huge resource for water, groundwater.
That's exactly the thing. I mean, it's not only that we have a beautiful network of lakes and tanks in this riverbed, which you don't see anywhere else. Thousands of lakes and tanks which get water from the river, and then the overflow goes back into the river, and unless you have this link kept, we will not have water in the whole region, which goes up to about 30-35 kilometers on both sides. And it's not only water of the river and the groundwater of the whole region that's going to be affected.
Okay, so it's very important for us to understand here that it's not just the river on the water, but also beneath the surface, which is important for us, because of which that sand quarrying should be a huge concern. If I can ask you one final question, Mr. Yuvraj, what do you want the government to do right now for you, and what do you think the government should do immediately?
Government itself must form a board and do the business without any third person entering in the quarry, and government must buy the machine and do the sand quarry. They will get more. Now they are getting 72 to 82 crores a year. They can get more than 1,000 crores a year. When government is doing, they will not go below the 3 feet. They will take sand, the government officials will only take sand where there is a heaps, where there is a sand which is blocking the running water.
So what you are indeed suggesting is that regulation by the government alone is not required here, it's not alone what is going to cut the job, but what the government has to take over the entire industry so that it gets more revenue. Also, there is no malpractice. Thank you, Mr. Yuvraj and Mr. Gilbert, both for joining us on this discussion here on Headlines Now. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ram, for joining us with that special report and that discussion. Now, still ahead on Headlines Now. It was only supposed to be work in progress, but that too has spelled danger to many lives. We bring you the big fall for the Commonwealth Games today in a bit.